in order to understand why lithium batteries have become such a problem, not only in New York City, but throughout the country and actually the world, you have to go back to basically the invention of the e-bike. So when the e-bike got invented and it became a mode of transportation to get around the city, delivery men, messengers, and people in general bought e-bikes to utilize as transportation and for work. So in New York City, especially, there's been a proliferation of e-bikes. Everybody has an e-bike. There are e-bike stores. There are places you can buy it. There are marketplaces. And the e-bikes are all powered by lithium batteries. And the problem with the lithium batteries and the manufacturers of the bike as a component, the lithium batteries, are that the battery that comes with the bike when it's sold is not the only battery that can be used on the bike. It's like if you have an ever-ready battery and a Duracell battery, and your appliance comes or your device comes with an ever-ready battery, and then you change it for a Duracell battery. Well, that works in principle for small devices. On e-bikes, it doesn't necessarily work. For instance, these e-bikes, if they come with a specific battery and a specific charger, what happens is people generally get more than one charger or more than one bike, and they are interchangeable in the charging mechanism. So that an e-bike battery that, let's say, for instance, is able to make a bike go 20 miles an hour, you're able to buy a battery that's supercharged and can go 35 miles an hour. And what people generally do, because most people don't read or necessarily understand about charging, is they'll take the battery that goes 40 miles an hour and use it with a charger that only is supposed to be used for a battery that's 20 miles an hour. So what happens is the interplay doesn't always work, meaning that the charge is different. And most, if not all, of these batteries are manufactured in China. And in China, they have much lesser standards than we do when it comes to electrical components. They shouldn't even be allowed here, but because of Amazon and things that you can buy over the internet, they get here. So what happens with these batteries is there's a charge. The charge is an improper charge to the battery. The cells which make up the battery, there are little cells in each battery. If you actually open one up, you could actually see the cells. So what happens, because the charge and the cell are not compatible, either they overheat or they explode or a spark occurs. And once that ignites, it ignites the battery in total, because you have to remember, battery is an enclosed object, right? So you have this battery that's on the bike, it's enclosed, and now you have a chemical and electrical reaction within the bike. And what happens when it all explodes? The whole thing explodes. And it's an explosion. I mean, it's like dynamite almost. And it's a massive explosion. And once the explosion occurs, then it starts a fire on whatever there are combustible substances within an apartment or a small area, and it explodes large. It doesn't just stay in one spot. Just think of an explosion from it. How does it go? It goes out. It goes in all directions. And everything catches fire. And so when you think about an apartment where there may be a wall that's not a great wall, or a wall that was put up by the tenant, or a sheet that separates maybe a bedroom from the living room, and that catches fire, what happens is that the means of egress, the means of getting out of the apartment, get compromised, in that they can't make it to the apartment door because of the explosion, because of the fire. People become trapped. People either have to try to get out through a fire escape if they can make it to the fire escape, or they have to jump out the window. I've had clients who have had to jump out the window. We actually had, and there's actually video of it, 2 clients who could not get through the door They had to shimmy down a drain pipe from the 5th floor. And there's video of these 2 young kids shimmying down the drain pipe in order to escape because they couldn't get through the door. So these lithium batteries have become so dangerous. And mainly, it's a combination of the cells, which are not well manufactured, as well as with the chargers, which are not compatible necessarily with the cell. When I say not compatible, I mean not compatible with the cells within the battery. The plug is compatible. In other words, if you think about a Samsung phone and an Apple phone. Samsung phones and Apple phones, you generally can't take a Samsung phone with an Apple charger. But with these lithium batteries, you can take a charger that's meant for one type of battery, and you could charge it with a different type of battery because the plugs are compatible, but the battery cells themselves are not compatible. And it just creates this massive explosion. I mean, in New York City alone, I think in 2023, there were over 25 deaths from lithium battery fires. So the problem becomes, well, where should you store these bikes? I mean, every major city has lithium battery bikes all over the place. So for a long time, people were told to store their bikes outside, or they weren't told anything. What happened was there was a period of time where certain housing management companies didn't want the bikes outside, so they cut either locks or the chains, and then people's bikes were getting removed and or stolen. So in order to prevent that, they took them up into the apartment, which is about the worst place that you can store it. That's like absolutely the worst place that you can store the bike. So these people, they're afraid their bike's going to be stolen. They take the bike into their apartment. They put chargers in, the wrong charger, or they buy another charger because they want to have 2 batteries being charged at the same time. What happens? They end up with a fire and an explosion. And listen, I've been to probably 15 to 20 fire/explosion sites in an apartment building. And the apartments are literally destroyed. I mean, everybody goes home and they have a nice house or a nice apartment. Everything's in order. You go to a place where there's been an explosion or a fire and everything is decimated. So these batteries have become so dangerous that there needs to be a better policy and or some regulations put in effect by either Congress or local government to either make the batteries from China better or to make it so that the batteries and the charges you can't charge another battery to a different charger, but only the one that comes with the bike. And the unfortunate part is that if you go on the internet like Amazon, there are batteries for sale, there are chargers for sale, and people swap them. If you've ever passed an e-bike store, there must be 15 to 20 people outside having discussions. It's like almost like a motorcycle rally. They have discussions about the bikes and the batteries and how fast this one goes, how fast that one goes. Can I borrow yours? Can I borrow that battery? Again, the worst thing that they can do. And while the public and the government, especially New York City, has done, I'm going to say, an adequate job, they need to do more to educate the public not to take these batteries and these bikes and the batteries into their apartments. So worst place possible to store. It's a ticking time bomb. They need to be educated. They need to be told that you should only use the charger that comes with that battery and don't store it in your apartment. I mean, we represent, it must be 10 cases that we have involving lithium battery bike fires. It's just a real tragedy. It's a horrible situation. We have cases involving people who die, and we have cases involving people that are seriously burned. And there's nothing like burn injuries. It's a horrible, you're scarred. It's very painful. So I implore people for their own safety and for the safety of their families, to please be extra careful when they have these lithium bikes. I know a lot of people have to do it because that's their livelihood. Unfortunately, a lot of the immigrants who have come in from El Salvador and elsewhere, they need a job. So they get jobs being either with Uber delivery people, and they use the bikes to get around for their livelihood. They need to store them outside. Take the battery in by itself and only use that charger with that battery. It's a matter of their own safety plus public safety.